and welcome back to the Review of Death, your fortnightly home for Doctor Who news and reviews. I'm Matthew Toffolo. As always, I'm joined by Billy Garratt-John. How you doing, bud?
Very, very good. Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here.
Old iron balls there, old Arnie Rimmer.
Old Trans Am wheel arch nostrils.
Very nice.
Yes, it's lovely to be here to talk about brand new Doctor Who again, because we've been talking about the old shit for such a long time. It's nice to get some new shit in our systems, straight to the vein.
Dear.
And I have to say off the bat, I had a great experience watching this because I watched this at a proper Doctor Who time for its debut.
Wow. What time did you watch it?
I watched it at 7 o'clock in the evening on Saturday night on Disney Plus, and that was the debut time. So the New Zealand people, the New Zealand Doctor Who fans, all 12 of us,
I was going to say
got the prime viewing experience for Doctor Who this year. So booyah shucks,
marvelous.
Great Britain.
Well, I don't want to bring the mood down, but I'm looking at the chat, and it appears that Jean Marsh has passed away at the age of 90.
Oh no!
How awful.
Oh dear.
Yeah, just having a look. Yeah. Oh, bless her. Gosh.
R.I.P. Jane Marsh. Oh, that's terrible.
Oh, bless her. Don't know where to go from that now.
Yeah, I know. We've not
Sorry,
had
brought the mood
that
down.
happen on a
No.
on an episode of the podcast before, where that kind of news has dropped. Terrible. Well, yeah, maybe we should let's digest that, and we'll come back to it when
later on
we're in the right headspace to give somebody a proper eulogy rather than
bless her.
pour scorn over a television series.
Yeah, she was fantastic. She was so good in as Morgaine, and
yes, he writes about her very fondly in Moon Boots and Dinner Suits.
He does, yes. I've
memory.
Only finished reading that very recently.
It's great.
Really good. Really good fun.
I'm very quiet again, Matt. Hello, listeners on the audio version of the podcast.
You're very quiet. My God, you're going to be.
Us.
The thing is that to make you loud, I have to make you loud in my ears, and in doing that, I deafen myself.
You blow your head off.
Yeah.
I have got the explanation that my fiance is sleeping upstairs because it's 6 o'clock in the morning, and I've been up since 5 o'clock getting ready for this. So I apologise if my decibels are at a slightly lower region, just by virtue of the fact that I don't want to get evils a little bit later. So.
Apparently, we're also audio is cutting out. Whose audio is cutting out? Is my audio cutting out, or is Billy's audio cutting out, or is everybody's audio cutting out? Volume is paying up.
Everybody seems to
goes
be
quiet
saying...
at times. Who's quiet?
Yeah, weird.
Sounds gone.
Sounds gone.
Friggin' hell. Hello?
Oh, no.
This will be one of those times when the internet's cocked up.
Playing havoc.
Ian Levine hacking the stream. Did you know Ian Levine sounds buggered? Oh, the sound is fine for me. Hello.
Is this so we only hear every 9th word?
Oh, God, yeah. This is like a silent film, not quiet. Audio fine. Audio fine for me, sounds good for me, sounds fine. Right, we're going to assume then that the audio is now okay.
Yes, it's okay, fine.
Someone else has put completely cutting in and out, both of you. Fine for me. Make your minds up.
That sounds like a you problem. Maybe if those who are having issues with the audio refresh their browser, because it might be something to do with YouTube.
Annie's next door, and she just said you're both fine for me.
Okay.
I think we're all right. Oh no, not for me. Well, try refreshing your browsers if it's not working. Have to cut all this from the audio version.
I know.
People listening on Spotify are going to be like, what's going on? Anyhow. Let's get on with the most important thing, which is of course
the most critical thing that happened yesterday, Matt, which is
I met Doctor Who.
You met Tom Baker. So tell us all about how did it come about? Tell us about the desperate pee stops on the way to Rye, and then eventually meeting the man himself and how all that panned out.
The man, the myth, the legend. So this was a Cygnus Alpha event. It was like a raffle in order to be able to get tickets, and I'd met Tom before, but Jonathan hadn't, Annie hadn't. We missed out on the opportunity of trying to enter last year because Annie and I were in Brazil. So I was like, right, if they ever do this again, which I kind of assumed they wouldn't just because of Tom's age, we must enter. Lo and behold, we did. So all three of us entered into the raffle, and Jonathan won the tickets. So we bought our opportunity to go and see Tom in Rye, along with, it was 51 people altogether. It would have been 50, but one of the attendees was supposed to be there last year from America, but he'd had an accident on the way. Oh, he had an accident on the way to the airport, so couldn't come. Yeah, so he came this time instead. So
wow.
Yeah, it was a lovely event. It started off with like an archive interview with Tom from during COVID, and he was on top form. And then the great man himself came in, and we all gave him a big round of applause. And you could tell he was sort of overjoyed to see everybody. I mean, it just cracked straight on. He was like, right, sit down there. We're taking some photos. And so that was it. We queued up outside the bar, and we were just going in one at a time, had our photos. This always happens with me. Whenever I have a photo taken with a Doctor Who, I always end up having two taken because I always blink the first time. So I blinked, thought we took a lovely photo. I got up and went to leave, and then the guy was like, oh, hang on a minute, come back. So I didn't get two photos, but I did get my photo taken twice with Tom Baker. So I've actually had 3
Have you
photos.
shit yourself?
Yeah. That's probably what it was, wasn't it, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, and Annie's got a lovely one where sort of Tom's looking at her with love
I
eyes,
love
which is
that.
ever so nice.
He's got the loveliest, like, this adoration sort of pouring out of him, and it's a very reciprocal, loving photo, isn't it? It's great.
It was really nice. We didn't sort of really talk much with Tom, because I guess he's that much older now. It's not like in the old days, bless him. But he did say to me, 2 T's when signing my DNA of Doctor Who book.
What a pro.
Yeah.
Did you get an opportunity to say, I've actually written in this? I'm not just like all these other old sad buggers here today.
Yeah, I did say that to him. Well, you say that, old sad buggers. Alistair Pearson, the famous Target and VHS artist, he was there in his very fantastic season 18 scarf.
Great.
And there were, as soon as we got there, lots of Rod fans, lots of Rodders, patron holders.
I heard.
So I must have got a shout out to Tom, to Andrew, to Ewan, to oh God,
should have written this down.
The big one I have to thank, and I'm sure people in the chat might have seen this. Has anyone seen what's on the desk behind us? Me.
I have to be completely honest. From the angle that I'm looking at here, can you move your head slightly to your left?
Yeah, you've got a different angle. What if I point this down?
I know.
Can you see me?
But because it's slightly out of focus, if you move your head slightly so I can see the table, I'm going to try and take a screenshot of it.
Right.
It looks like a what they would charitably refer to on Amazon listings as a massager.
Yes. So at that angle, I can imagine it does look like that. But,
I've got to send that to you.
No, what we've got here. So this was very kindly gifted to me by Kit.
Oh wow!
Who you probably all know from Instagram, who makes amazing 3D printed Doctor Who figures. He said, "I want to give you this," and it is this absolutely phenomenal Mara. It is brilliant. It is so cool. He came in with this big box, and I thought, bloody hell, what the hell is that? I knew he was coming with something, and I thought it was going to be like a figure. So when I pulled this great big thing out, I was like, that is amazing. And I thought, God, wouldn't that have been good when I did my action figure adventures? That would have been perfect.
It's always his first thought.
Yeah, see, I'll have to go back and do a new one with the Mara. It also would have been very handy a couple of weeks ago when we did our Kinder review.
True.
But it's amazing. It's so cool. It's like a lovely mix of the CGI version and the actual prop, but it looks
Brilliant.
good. So yeah, amazing. The detail's insane. The fangs are like really sharp, and all the detail in the mouth is incredible. So that is going to look superb on the shelf. So thank you ever so much, Kit, if you're watching. That
I can only assume, Kit, mine is in the post. It takes a while for things to get to New Zealand, as I'm sure you're aware when you went to the post office and sent me one.
He probably
But
thought
yeah,
you got enough snakes over there.
wrong country, but
Oh.
nearly.
Close enough. Fly across.
Close enough. Okay, so that's amazing. I mean, what an experience meeting Tom the baker. And he was I don't know the right word to put it, really, the right way to put it, kind of well compass mentis, because
yeah, I mean, he
he's
was
obviously on his.
He was moving about fine. Yeah, he was very aware. We sort of saw him when he went for his break. The Mermaid Inn is sort of split into two, really. There's like the actual sort of more pubby bit, and then there's the bit where we were, the sort of venue part. And it was only small. It was only a little place. And we were all sat outside because it was a nice warm day. So we saw Tom leave the venue, go into the pub. He had an ice cream, apparently.
A pint of Fremlins.
And he came out, and there was a girl who was there, one of the attendees, and he said something like, "Nice boots," as he walked past her.
I'm sure he did.
Yeah.
I'm sure that's exactly what he said.
So yeah, it was great.
Him.
It was great. It was a really nice event. We saw David Goodison and Sadie Miller, and Chris Nailo plays Harry Sullivan. John Leeson was there. Yeah, it was
cool.
It was brilliant. It was brilliant, and a huge shout out to our friend Andrew, who drove us down, because he was actually working at the event, and then he took us down there and took us back.
It's a busman's holiday for him.
Yeah, it was brilliant. It was great. He was very grateful, because he said last time he did this, there was no one in the car with him, so he had us three to chat about all sorts, telling us all about all the amazing people that he's met. There's not a single person he hasn't met. That's insane.
Wow, I love it. What a day! What a day! I'm glad it all panned out well for you, because to meet the man is quite special, isn't it? And I know you've met him a couple of times, but I guess as time rolls on, the fact that he's still dedicating time to doing these things, even if he's not able to do panels or stick around for people as long as he might want. It's great that he's still there and doing it. That's amazing.
Yeah, it's lovely. And we've also got a very nice sneaky picture of when Jonathan went over to get his photo taken. He shook his hand first, and we got a snap of him shaking Tom's hand. So
shaking the man's hand. That must have been a religious moment for Jonathan.
I don't think I've seen a more authentic smile on his face. It's quite funny, because we've got pictures of Jonathan with Sylvester McCoy, and he looks a lot happier smiling with Tom Baker. I got to say that. So
well, we know what side Johnny's bread's buttered now, don't we?
Sorry, Sylv, but
it's all that TV movie costume. It all comes around to that TV movie costume. If Sylv hadn't betrayed Jonathan like that, in talking badly about the jumper, then I think he probably would have had a bigger smile on his face when he met Sylv.
He betrayed the question marks, didn't he? That was it.
He did. He betrayed the question marks. Well, look, we've got a lot to crack into before we even get to the robot revolution. So let's roll on a wee bit more. Some news came out in the week before this first episode aired, which is that the great interrupter Graham Norton is going to be appearing in the Interstellar Song Contest.
Yes, he's going to be. Isn't he going to be like in the audience? I don't think he's going to be hosting.
I can only assume it's like a cameo role.
Yeah.
It's going to be a blink and you'll miss it kind of thing. But very nice to see he's actually managed to get into it through legitimate means this time, rather than having to hijack the signal. So good on you, Graham. That's fantastic to see. We're going to come down a little bit, and then we're going to come back up, because I mean, we can't not talk about some of the quotes that have come out in the press in the last couple of days in light of the Doctor Who season 2 premiere, and naturally people being asked what's happening with season 3. So the first thing to mention is a bit off-piste in that regard, but it was announced Ncuti's appearing in a new play for the Royal Shakespeare Company.
Yep.
That is going to run for 3 months, starting in August, which at the very least rules him out of filming a Christmas special. Even if there is one, in theory, that is across the period that the
Yeah.
Christmas special would be shot. So read into that what you will. The other bit of news obviously comes out of the mouth of Russell the Davis being interviewed on Newsround at the season 2 premiere. We've all seen the quotes and stuff, but I'll read it out and then we'll hear what Matt has to say, and we'll go back and forth on it a little bit. When asked about season 3, Russell said, "I kind of know the Doctor's reached the status of Robin Hood. Sometimes there might be a pause, and during that pause, the viewers of Newsround will now grow up and in a few years and start writing stories and they'll bring it back. So I have absolute faith that it will survive because I'm living proof of that. And that's what happens to good ideas. No good idea ever dies." And there was another quote in an interview that was published, I think yesterday, where Russell was talking about pit stops.
Oh, right.
That was the reference he used, pit stops. I'll see if I can find that. But yeah, how do you feel, especially in light of that coming out the week of a new episode? Did it color the way you watched it, or how did you feel about it generally?
I mean, it didn't really color the way that I watched the episode, because I mean, I think we're all sort of like, well, it is either going to happen or it's not going to happen. So, well, we'll just have to wait and see. But it was interesting. I mean, not sure Robin Hood was necessarily the best example to use, because if Robin Hood's anything to go by, it just means that every few years they try and make a reboot, it does terribly, and then it gets shelved again for another decade, and then it comes back, and that one's shit, and then they'll do another one. Yeah, so maybe not the best choice. Yeah, I mean, it seems odd to say that when your new series is coming out, because there was an interview, I think it might have been with Ncuti and Varada in New York Times, I want to say, and they asked Ncuti a similar question, and Ncuti was like, "Look, my brain is just totally on season 2. Why am I?" He said, "I know this is a time travel show, and you always want to look at the future." He said, "But at the moment," he said, "series 2 hasn't come out yet, so let's just enjoy that." Which
Yeah.
I think, although it's obviously nicely dodging the question, maybe that's a better way of saying it than,
Probably.
well,
I mean,
it might not come back.
Do you think Russell, it's either an attempt in sort of softening the blow for the news when it eventually does drop,
Yeah.
or it's laying the foundations for the worst possible scenario, and then if he thinks that there's a chance it could come back, at least there is that kind of upswing of
Yeah.
elation and positivity.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
It could work both ways.
There was another one that came out today, I think, and he was talking about, regardless of what happens, at the moment, he has ideas for season 3 and for 4 and potentially 5. So
this is the quote that I've got here.
Okay.
We'll always look ahead to the future if we get the chance to keep running. I've got ideas. I think I'll do that near season 4 or 5. And that's always the way I've worked on things. So yes, I could promise you amazing stuff at the end of series 4. There are things we've already mentioned that are going to bear fruit a long time into the future. So that's just the fun of it. That's the fun of Doctor Who. But to say again, it's the pit stops along the way.
There we go. I mean, we've discussed this before, haven't we, on the podcast? We've sort of said, well, even if the Disney thing doesn't happen this year, then, well, maybe we'll get a year off, maybe a year or 2 off, and perhaps another streaming service will pick it up. Crikey, Amazon's throwing money at things these days, as we've seen with Mr. Bond, so they might say, well, we've got Britain's biggest movie IP, why not take their biggest TV IP?
I would have been more positive about that idea, or I think given they just spent $1 billion on the creative control of Bond, let alone however much they spent on MGM all those years ago, and however much they're going to spend on the new film, plus, I'm sure the tariffs that are hitting the world are going to play into some decisions that are being made in some offices, some production offices somewhere.
Yeah.
So I think the prospect, although from what we heard a long time ago, that Amazon was waiting for Disney to drop it and then swoop in, I think that that prospect is probably a bit further away now than it was
Yeah.
a month ago, 2 months ago,
Yeah.
But, hopefully somebody does catch it. But if not, then at least we have got another, what now, 7 weeks of Doctor Who to enjoy.
Mm. And we've also got
So
the spin-off as well, which is
I
probably
keep
coming
forgetting
out
about that. Yes.
end of the year.
Yes.
I saw someone on Twitter say, "Oh, wouldn't it be nice if they postponed that till next year if Doctor Who doesn't come back, just to space things out?" But I guess we'll just have to wait and see. I mean, obviously we haven't seen any of that yet. We've seen no trailers and stuff, and I imagine we won't until Doctor Who finishes. They'll probably want to keep that tightly under wraps. But yeah. What do we think then? Shall we crack on with last night's episode or yesterday morning's episode? I watched it last night. I watched it at like 10:30. We were knackered.
I'm not surprised. You had a big day meeting God himself.
Yeah.
So Doctor Who series season 2, episode 1, The Robot Revolution, written by Russell T Davies, directed by Peter Hoare, starring Ncuti Gatwa and Varada Sethu. 2 million viewers overnight, Matt. The figures came out. I'm sure that there's been a major dent in what the overnights would have been, given that it dropped at 8 o'clock in the morning rather than midnight.
Yeah.
Some 8 hours prior. But it will be interesting to see the catch-up figures, I think, given that I think the majority of the traffic is probably going to be going towards iPlayer now, isn't it?
Yeah. I almost wish I'd have watched it when it went out live, because iPlayer, I don't know if anyone else has this. iPlayer Doctor Who, the new stuff, has this Ultra HD.
Yes.
And I don't know if it's my telly. I'm assuming it is my telly, that we just don't have a fancy enough telly. But it makes the colours of Doctor Who super mega saturated. And it's just got like this horrible like teal and orange sort of quality to it. And like when you compare it to when it goes out broadcast, we noticed it with the 60th because we watched those live, because obviously it went out live properly. It was broadcast properly. And then when we went back to watch it afterwards, we were like, whoa, the colours are like completely whacked. So yeah, part of me is kind of like, maybe we just wait. Maybe I just stay off the internet. Because I mean, I stayed off the internet yesterday. Well, I didn't stay off the internet. I had a quick look to see what people were saying. And it was a fairly mixed bag. Some people were sort of saying it was really good. Some people were saying it was abysmal. Let's get to it. What did you think?
To it. Well, we set ourselves up quite nicely for it. I think when we did our Series 15 preview on Patreon, that we sort of went into it. I think we were thinking this anyway, that it is episode 1. It is going to be light and fluffy. I think one of the reviews I saw said delightfully daffy, I think, which I think is probably the right way to put it. It was exactly what I expected to be, and that's what all season openers go for, so no surprise there. I see most people have been comparing it to Space Babies, which I really didn't dislike, or at least I seem to enjoy that more than most people.
God, you're insane.
I know. I think my main criticism with it, with particular reference to it being on Disney's front page and being a season opener.
Yeah.
And it was the only time in the episode where I got that, oh, Doctor Who's back, it's winding me up already kind of thing, is having Mrs. Flood break the fourth wall before the titles even ran.
Okay.
Because, the likelihood that people are coming to this for the very, very first time is small, but it's not insignificant. The number of people that might have forgotten what happened last year, and I'm talking about this in, fructose-laden America, where, people's attention spans and memory, are waffle thin, especially when it comes to certain kinds of media. Hear a British accent and tune out. I am sort of wondering whether having something so meta shifting right from the off. I mean, I know that she popped up at the end of the Christmas special, didn't she? Or was that at the end of the
That was
finale?
the end of the finale, yeah.
So it's been about a year since that happened.
For all we know, she could have been one of the wise men. at the Christmas
She
special.
could have been. That actually, to have a little cameo there probably would have been a helpful bridge in that gap. But um, that was the only thing that sort of felt like a rug pull for
Okay.
me, was
Okay.
having that. I think the thing is, though, ultimately, now that it's happened so frequently, it is a plot point. It
Yeah.
is a it is something that's going to be addressed by the end of this season. We cross our fingers and hope.
Yeah.
Because if something like that gets dangled and left unresolved as a result of Doctor Who being, not renewed and off TV for a while, can you imagine like having that much of a gap in
Yeah.
in a story revelation of
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
oh, so we were all just breaking the fourth wall for 2 years and nobody mentioned
And we'll never
why,
hear. Yeah, we'll never hear about it
we
again.
never found out what the resolution
Yeah.
was.
Yeah.
So yeah, on the whole, besides that one gripe, which I'll get out of the way at the top, so we can actually just talk about the episode. It was exactly what I expected it to be. I thought it looked great from a production design perspective.
Yes. Yeah.
Um, there were a couple of iffy bits of post, which we'll mention. But again, it's Doctor Who, so you've got to love it for that.
I mean, that's it, isn't it?
Yeah.
If the walls didn't wobble a little bit, it'd almost be too good to be Doctor Who. Yeah, I mean, I got to agree with that. I think aesthetically, it looks amazing. I mean, we said this when we saw the trailers, that the whole sort of 1950s retro futuristic Jetsons feel of it was great. I absolutely loved it. The little robot, the little sweeper robot, he looked like he literally just came out of the Jetsons. It was fantastic. So I loved all that stuff. I thought the robots were cool. I thought Nick Briggs did a nice job with the voices as well. That very bassy sort of voice. Interesting. Did you think that the little robot, what was he saying? Polish was it? At one point, I think he's like the second lot of polish, as he scoots away, he sounds very Dalek-like.
Interesting.
So yeah, and I was like, oh, there we are. Maybe that was just a little. Maybe Nick was there and thought, I'd just twiddle the modulator just a little bit.
I'll crank the threshold a wee bit.
Yeah.
I thought that Nick Briggs was channeling Christopher Robbie in his voice. It sounded very Revenge of the Cybermen, didn't it?
It did. Now that you've said it, it did. Do you know what? I was sat there thinking, I was like, there's something Cyberman-y about this. I said, but it's not quite like earth-shocking. But now that you've said that...
They've obviously pitched his voice lower. Yeah. And it's not like crazy modified like a Dalek. It's not crazy modulated like that.
Yeah.
But there is a slight little, tinny texture to it, like the voice is coming from inside the suit. Yeah. And I think, being a fan of that era of Doctor Who, he is almost certainly going for a bit of a thing like that.
Well, Ben Lindsay has just said in the chat that he thought it sounded like Robot K1. And I think, that's
not a million miles off.
Yeah, very, very similar. So yeah, I mean, I loved the aesthetics of it. I thought the action stuff was really well done, well directed. It, visually again looked really cool when people were being zapped and frazzled away. Getting properly wiped out, which is what we always like in Doctor Who. We like it when people die.
Death and destruction.
We like it when they die, and we like it when they stay dead, because it it adds the threat to it.
Absolutely.
Although, not the cat though. That was sad, wasn't it? That was a bit mean.
We'll come on to that. I think we'll come on to that.
But obviously, the star of the episode has to be Belinda.
Absolutely.
Straight away, just a few minutes in, you're like, yeah, love her. She's great.
Yeah.
It's really refreshing to have a companion that isn't all doe-eyed and gooey for the Doctor, that is not afraid to put the Doctor in his place. And just some really nice lines, like there was the bit about timey-wimey when the Doctor explains that it's timey-wimey, and she's like, timey-wimey, what am I, 6? I was like, that's fantastic. It's like, it sounded like us with all those years ago.
It's nice to have a miserable arsehole on board the TARDIS, isn't it? It's great.
It's like, this is what it would be if we were on the TARDIS. We'd be like, oh, God, bloody hell. Like, come on, mate.
It just gives the 15th Doctor some friction, something. Because, given his personality is, being very positive and kind of radiating this kind of energy of, of just being with everyone, for everyone, and just boundless sort of positivity. To have somebody with him that is sort of just basking in it
Yeah.
and feeding into the energy is okay, but it does cast that first season in such a one note sort of tone, doesn't it? Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
by contrast, having Belinda there already, Ncuti's doctor is being challenged more in his relationship with his companion than he's had since he joined the show.
Yeah.
And I think Varada Sethu is amazing. I
Yeah.
think she's going to be an absolute highlight of this whole series.
Definitely.
And I'm really looking forward to seeing how she develops, and where, because you can tell that she's got a sense of adventure. And there was we'll come on to it, but there was a great scene that kind of gave Ncuti's doctor the, oh, okay, she's good, she knows what she's doing,
Yeah.
kind of spark. But she's got that whole get me home thing. So I'm looking forward to seeing where the shift happens from
Yeah.
I don't want to be here to, oh, go on, let's go on another trip, kind of
Yeah.
thing, or
Yeah.
where that kind of falls.
And I think she'll be sort of like Tegan, where although she'll sort of come around to the traveling and the adventuring, I think she'll always be there to sort of, like you said, put the doctor in his place and say, now hang
Yeah.
on a minute. I don't think she'll ever be totally taken in by the the mysticism
By those
of him.
pearly whites.
By those pearly whites, yeah. So shall we get into the story? So the doctor,
Let's get into the story.
we have the introduction with Belinda and her boyfriend.
Yeah.
He buys her the star chart thing, the diploma certificate that's on the desk behind me. See, we're up to date with our prop references. Cheers, Doctor Who magazine.
Next to your snake vibrator.
Yeah, next to my snake vibrator.
Can I ask a question right from the off?
No,
'Cause
I've not
it's
stuck that
obviously
up my bum.
No, okay, fine. I was wondering.
Thank you.
The stink line's coming off of it.
Yeah.
I wanted to
It's got teeth, they would it.
Some people like that. I was going to ask about how old Belinda's supposed to be, because that flashback is 17 years prior,
Oh yeah.
and I think you can start training to be a nurse from 15. It takes about 3 years, 15,
Oh.
16 years old.
Okay.
So I'm guessing that Belinda is supposed to be Varada's shoot age of, like, I think she's 30, 31.
Okay. So a bit younger
Because
than
it
me.
just seemed like such a
Oh yeah. So that
17 years ago.
Yeah.
It kind of makes sense.
Yeah, and yeah, unless they've made maybe they've pitched her slightly older, because I mean she did.
Yeah.
The trouble is, yeah, because when you think of it like that, I mean she doesn't look like 15 in
No.
that flashback.
That was what confused me.
Yeah,
But I think that's great, because it's again a different dynamic, and it's
Yeah.
not like necessarily said on screen what age she is.
Yeah.
But there is a maturity to her character, and it's nice that we haven't just got another 19 to 21-year-old on board
Yeah.
the TARDIS who can
Yeah.
just get swept up by the Doctor. She's got life experience, and even down to, like, I bet you say that to all the girls sort of line.
Yeah.
It just illustrates a slight edge of maturity over most of the other companions we've had in recent years, which I really, really liked.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And then of course we flash forward to the present day where she is working as a nurse. And like you said, that's the sort of job that's really going to make you harden to the world. And the doctor turns up and decides to kill everybody in the ICU by turning off the power.
Tragic.
How many deaths do you think?
I'm gonna guess there's at least 20 in the emergency ward.
I think. Do you know what? I almost think that they, as funny as it is as a gag to be like, oh shit, he's pulled the plug on it. I do think maybe it just needed like another buzz of the sonic screwdriver, and then the lights pop back on, just so we just make sure that Mr. Humphries hasn't just died in bed 2 or whatever.
Because there were a lot of beep beep boo
Yeah.
sound effects as it went up.
Yeah.
They're all there. holding Grandad's hand round the bed. He's like, he's going on his own. He's going on his own. Don't worry. And then the lights go out. And, a surge of electricity through his heart.
Oh God.
He pulls a sylve and starts
Yeah.
yelling. And then we're back at oh, one thing to mention about that hospital scene, the receptionist is the woman the doctor saved from the falling snowman.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's, Russell doing his kind of recurring characters thing that he liked to do back in, RTD1, where you just got these faces pop every now and again, like Trinity Wells, and you're like, oh look, or if it's supposed to speak to the whole arc of we've met before, we're connected, it's destiny kind of thing.
There's only so many faces in Spotlight.
There's only so many faces in Spotlight. There's only so many people in Cardiff willing to pop down to the studios.
Yeah.
Back at Belinda's, and she lives in like a flat share, which is nice. So like we have the whole, we don't get the cozy domesticity of like her living with her parents still, and we have to introduce that whole raft of characters. And there's like which I know adds another dimension, and it's important to have that for certain characters. But I think it is nice just to kind of cut to the chase and just have her in situ kind of ready to go and all that.
And I guess we've already done that with Ruby, trying to, the whole family thing. So maybe they just, like you said, it's nice to just go away from that for once. I mean, even though she obviously mentions her mum and dad when the robots finally take her. But it's nice to just be able to go, oh, well, she lives with these people that, by the sounds of things, she couldn't give two shits about, If the robots came in and zapped them, she'd probably be like, well, thank God for that.
It's like every flat share that anyone's ever lived in. And then the doctor is obviously, he's on the hunt for her, but before he can reach her, the robots turn up. So we get that awesome spaceship.
Yeah.
That rocket landing in the garden, which is just ace. One thing I did want to mention before we moved on to the robots, right from the start, so after the 17 years ago sequence, the pan down the hospital.
Yeah.
And that, I don't know if because I sort of teased it when you were driving, that really dodgy TARDIS materialization. What was off about it? Because the scale seems sort of off to me. It certainly looked like it had been green screened and the prop wasn't on location.
Yeah, I don't know. I'll be honest. Maybe it's just my aging eyes, but I actually didn't really notice it, and I watched it twice, and I still thought, it looks all right to me. I don't know. Maybe I've been watching too much season, because we've been watching season 7 at the moment, and so maybe I'm just used to so much dodgy CSO that looks like a visual miracle to me.
I love it. Yeah, that was it. That and there was
there's no blue fuzzy line around the TARDIS, so that's brilliant.
What's going on? Everything has a blue fuzzy line around it in real life. It was that, and it was the when they were sat on a park bench, there was a little bit of all that screen. Oh dear, just hit my eyes straight away. But
maybe Ultra HD on my telly just like completely wipes out, because I saw a few people saying that the green screen looked terrible in this scene, and I was like, did it? It looks all right to me.
It didn't. One of the examples I saw of that people talking about was the air bridge, which looked very I don't know what planet that is from Star Wars, but you know the one.
Yeah.
Okay, there you go. Yeah. People going, oh, that looks very green screen, and it's like, well, yeah, because it's the planet Miss Belinda Chandra 1, and it's there's spaceships flying around in the background. But I think it was just because Doctor Who, always goes to those places and does green screen bits in fantastical places, that when it was like, oh, it's a park bench and it looks a little bit off, and all that TARDIS materialization, which is something that we look forward to seeing every episode and have seen hundreds of, just sort of stuck out to me as like a bit of that's a bit odd. I think it was the lighting and stuff. Anyway, so the robots turn up.
Yes.
They look awesome, and it's a crying shame that the show is in the state it's in with retailers that we won't get an action figure of these, because immediately when the faces started spinning and you had all the different expressions, all the different icons, I thought that would be an amazing action figure. Just press a little button on the back and it spins round.
Yeah, it would have been a great. They'd be great toys. They'd be really good toys.
Yeah, it certainly looks like it was written with that in mind, because they've got the little laser gun accessory too, and I love the look of that laser gun. That was proper atomic age.
It's kind of like the Dalek guns, the toy ones that they had in the 60s. That really sort of retro future,
proper like zappy laser guns. Yeah,
cool.
So
again, that'd be a good toy. Lights and sounds, be great.
Exactly, it would be awesome, but sadly, no one's biting. And of course, it is write the theme tune, sing the theme tune. Nick Briggs. What else he's done this time round except the Vlinks? Is it just the Vlinks and the robots? Has he done anything else?
I don't think he has. I'm sure someone...
Elevator number 6.
Potentially. I'm sure someone in the chat might be able to point us in the right direction and tell us if he's done anything else.
Let us know.
Yeah.
And I've seen some people get quite upset at this, which sort of surprises me. But to get over that they mean business, and without eliminating one of Belinda's flatmates, which I'm sure she would have been less upset by, they blast the cat.
Yeah. Not Danny John Jules, just one of the neighbors.
No. Wow.
The nice thing is you don't actually see the cat alive beforehand.
Which
so
I think that cat could have been stone cold dead from shock before that camera cut to it. But that generated a no way from us. But we didn't get too upset by it. But I have seen people saying that went a bit too far, which I don't quite understand.
Annie wasn't happy about the killing of the cat. But Annie's funny about animals getting killed in TV programs, so which is fair enough.
It gets them over as being bad.
Exactly, that's it. Yeah. But then really they're kind of not bad. Really, it's all one big misunderstanding, isn't it? The whole thing, the whole story is like some weird paradoxical cock up. But not for poor old Whiskers, who's
no.
Yeah. So she gets taken away in the very cool Looney Tunes Marvin the Martian style rocket. Obviously, we have Mrs. Flood, who likes to just be the neighbor to every Doctor Who companion.
The perennial neighbor.
Yeah.
I did love, especially the delivery of the line, but the line itself. Apparently, I'm the queen of outer space, if you could tell the police.
Yeah.
That whole sort of just being whisked off and having to explain what's going on. But I did notice there was a slight flicker across Belinda's face when Mrs. Flood is like, "You take care, dear," or whatever it was, of kind of, she's taken that weirdly well.
Really well,
Did you notice that?
Yeah.
So that's a nice little seed that's been planted there.
Yeah, that was great. And unlike you, I was not too fussed about the fourth wall break. I know you're quite particular about those fourth wall breaks. I actually saw the clip before the episode aired.
Yes,
and that was the one that they
same.
released. So I'd seen it and I thought, okay. I mean, we knew it was going to happen. It's going to happen. So you better buckle in, Billy, because I think every episode we're going to get a Mrs. Flood
every episode.
Going, oi, oi,
I think we will.
Right?
I think
oi,
we
oi,
will. At
Savaloy?
least I feel fine about it now that it's going to be resolved. It has to be. At this point. So I think because Russell, when it was, well, we hope. When it got the sort of people were noticing it the first time, Russell said, this sort of thing just happens now, as if it was just part of the fabric of the program from like that's how I write Doctor Who these days, not that this is a thread. So I think now that that's become a thing, I'm fine with it.
Yeah, so long as there's a narrative reason, you'll be happy. Yeah.
I'm all right. I'm not going to shit myself. So the Doctor chases after the robots and Bell in the TARDIS when time suddenly goes all wibbly, which I thought was interesting that it happened in this episode.
Yeah.
Because
so soon.
Yeah, the prominence it had in the trailer. I would have thought it would have happened later on, but it does bring up another sort of point I wanted to mention is there's two wibbly wobbly time fracture type events that happen in this story.
Yeah.
So obviously you have the time skipping a groove in this moment, and then you've got the end when the Doctor and Belinda keep bouncing off of the 24th of May,
Yeah.
which are two separate incidents, because the Doctor says when they bounce off of it, I fixed the time fracture from before, so it's a different
Oh, he
thing.
does, doesn't he? Yeah.
So I got a little bit confused on first viewing, wondering, is this the same time fracture? And so what caused the time fracture
Yeah.
to
I mean,
begin with when Belinda was in the rocket?
already, yeah, there's a lot of questions to be answered, and yeah, we're not even into the pre-titles yet.
No, no.
Title sequence hasn't rolled, and we're already like, well, what's this gonna mean? Yeah, I thought it was the same thing, but now that you've said that, I'm beginning to wonder maybe they are two separate events. That seems a bit weird, though, doesn't it?
It seems a bit strange that you do two time fracture events in the
In
same
the same
episode.
story, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Well, I
And
guess
and,
we'll
and also
find out.
we didn't get an explanation as to what caused it, but then when the Doctor shows Belinda the diagram on the monitor when they're underground,
Yeah.
it's Belinda Chandra one with the lightning strike through the middle of it, and then Earth.
Yeah.
And there's their time is fusing together or something like that, but the wording is sort of similar to him talking about them bouncing off of the 24th of May later on.
Right.
So I don't know. I'm sort of, well, we're only one episode in, so we'll see if it has any bearing on something that comes later. But it just felt a little bit strange that we got two time fractures in one episode.
Yeah. Oh, you must have been listening more intently than me, because I thought it was all the same thing.
It might pop up on my notes a little bit, and I can give you some more info there.
But yeah, now that you've said it, I do remember him saying, "Oh, I fixed the time fracture," and I was like, "Oh, have you? That was easy." Because it felt like that seems like quite a big deal if it's like making time really fucky. But okay. Yeah, so then the story sort of plays out. She goes to the planet. Obviously, they go through their like little blippy thing. She goes to the planet. She's then taken in by the robots. She meets Sasha 55. Is that the girl's name? Meets Sasha 55. Oh, yeah, by the way, the robots have taken over and they're crushing the rebels. Please help us. She gets led to the throne room. Who's there? It's the Doctor with long hair. He hasn't had a haircut in a while, and he's dressed like the rest of them. So we've... Immediately, you got your timey-wimey stuff going on. And then we have the ninth word of everything that the robots can't hear every ninth word.
Yeah. Which was, I thought, a fucking brilliant scene.
Yeah.
I thought it was so well shot. You kind of pick up on it very quickly.
Yes.
But then you have the little recap for the younger ones so they can understand the full sentence put together. I'm waiting for somebody to do a full dissection of which words the robots did hear and didn't hear in and out of those scenes.
Yeah.
Because I did do it for Alan.
Ah, did you?
And there's a little bit extra at the end, but not much. But there's a little bit extra right at the very end.
Okay, interesting. Because
of the lines they referenced,
I thought that maybe. I thought when it got to his bit, they were like, "Oh yes, it's the ninth word." I mean, I thought it was bollocks, but not in the case of the robots. In the case of Alan, I thought it was fucking stupid. But I think that whole twist is absolutely pathetic. But we'll get to that when we get to it.
We'll get there.
Yeah,
I'm looking forward to this.
There you are. That's just a sneak preview for the end.
I have to. Also, I loved the Miss Belinda Chandra kind, Belinda Chandra bots, and they're dropping Belinda Chandra bombs.
Yeah.
Each got a little chuckle out of me. Sasha 55 whispers, "Please help us." Did the robots not hear that one?
No.
I guess not. Polish.
Yeah.
I think might be Stella's favourite Doctor Who character to date.
Nice.
Lots of cooing over the cute little 50s car bot, which was a great design.
It was an amazing design with the proper little trunk at the back, like a Volkswagen Beetle.
Exactly. And the little brake lights at the back, which were awesome.
Really cool.
And she got very upset when he was powered down. But if there's another Doctor Who auction coming up at some point, I would 100% put a bid in for Polish.
Yeah.
And nobody else do that. He's mine.
Yeah. Because it's the only thing you're allowed in the house.
Basically.
And then it'll turn up and she'll be like, oh, it doesn't actually clean the floors. Chuck it in the bin.
No. It's not useful. So why would you have it in the house? The robots then introduce the great AI generator. I'd also like a supercut of every time the robots go, behold.
Oh yeah.
Which seemed to happen quite often.
Yeah. It was all good fun. It was very like old Hollywood Wizard of Oz, especially the design of the the AI generator. That was very Wizard of Oz. Yeah, great. Again,
and
really cool.
the video clip of Belinda having all the stuff bolted to her was very like Metropolis, and
I said that was a reference to Superman 3, if you've seen that. You ever seen that film,
no.
Superman 3?
No,
of course not. In Superman 3, there's a lady at the end, and she gets absorbed by the computer, and that's literally what happens. All these plates of metal, it's fucking scary. All these plates of metal like stick to her face, and she becomes like this computer zombie. Really cool. Oh, here's a Superman coming. He's just said, hang on, wait for it, everybody. Don't come in yet. I got to play your intro music. Where is it?
Here it's coming.
Is it playing? I can't play it. Come on, play, you bastard. That might have played. I think it is playing. I can't hear it.
Hello.
Here he is. Just Neil. Neil.
Here he is. We are here with the man of the moment.
Go on, put those ears on. I don't need to hear this. You do.
Johnny. Hello. Good evening or morning, whatever time of the day it might be in New Zealand. Hello.
It is the glorious morning, Johnny. It's a pleasure to see you.
Hello, how are you? I've got one thing to say.
Very well, thank you. Go on.
The one thing I've got to say about the episode, he's still crying.
I know.
That's it then.
I was about to come on to it. Johnny, firstly, tell us about Tom Baker.
Oh, it was lovely. I had a little tear when he walked in to see him. It was amazing. He does look frail though.
Yeah.
I was a little bit taken aback.
91. And I guess it's one thing seeing photos of him online and one thing seeing him in person.
Yeah. But it was very magical. It was lovely. I heard Matt's little comment about me smiling, which is true. And I've got a few extra, I'm not saying more than Syl, but I'm saying it was very special to see the man himself and shake his hand. And I've got a few extra photos as well. Some sneaky ones, which is rather nice. So no, it was great.
Beautiful.
I must also say how lovely it was to see some of the people, that obviously listen to this nonsense there as well. We had lovely chats, didn't we?
It was nice.
It was lovely to meet a number of you. So thank you. Obviously, more than a number of you, but it was nice to see you.
It was nice to meet some of you.
To meet some of you, and have a good old chat. It was very good. It was lovely.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome, Johnny. And give us your meconium level ranking of the Robot Revolution.
Look, it was...
and Matt Bevan. I'm sorry I missed you off when I said shout out to people. Sorry, Matt. It was lovely to meet you too.
There you go.
I should remember that. He's got my name.
He has got your name, yeah. Look, it was average.
That's better than anything I could have hoped you were going to say, to be honest.
Yeah, it was fine for the most part. It was the ending that I thought would let it down a bit, but I won't say too much because Matt and I obviously think the same really on this, so I'll let Matt say.
You're both
into the ending.
He's a Time Lord. In many ways, we have the same mind.
Yeah. But it looked good, and there were good bits, and I like the new companion. She was good. I like the fact that she's feisty and is quite happy to put him in his place. I thought that was really good, and Tegan-esque, as Annie said, and it's true. It was fine. It was fine. It was better than Space Babies. Put it that way.
Excellent. We'll take it, Johnny.
Starting with that last year, that old nonsense. So last night, I thought, that was an improvement.
Excellent. An improvement. That's all we can hope for.
There we go.
Johnny, same time next week.
Time next week
for Johnny's meconium criticism.
And we'll talk about the crying again, probably. Right, okay.
Almost certainly.
Right, goodbye all.
Lovely to see you, mate.
Evening, bye. Take care.
There we go.
And the studio audience explodes in raptures.
I should add that in next, shouldn't I? Just like
absolutely.
Yeah, that'll be the next one.
A big sitcom, did you call me?
Yeah.
Okay, so we then have the little firefight between the robots and the humans, or the Belinda Chandra kind. We then find out that the Doctor has made a friend.
Oh, friend.
In Sasha 55, and then she gets X-ray blasted, and we have the audio drop out, and the Doctor goes no. And then he has a little cry, which yes is immediately a oh, for fuck's sake, mate, come on. Because again, it's not necessarily that it's happening every episode, but it's that eventually when something happens to a character that we haven't only spent 5 minutes with, I fear it's going to cheapen it, unless he is like snot streaming down, rocking in a corner levels of crying. It's going to have to, his performance is going to have to elevate to kind of top.
proper wailing.
Proper wailing.
I saw someone on Twitter say that it's kind of like they were trying to do the Linda with a Y thing in Bad Wolf, where you see the Doctor takes a shine to this girl and thinks, oh, she'd be a good companion, and then gets offed. But obviously with Linda, we actually meet Linda. We get to spend some time with Linda. We get to share the Doctor's, enjoyment in their relationship. And we get to see, oh yeah, she's nice, she's fun. So that when she dies, we're like, oh, that is sad. Whereas with this, we're just like, who was that? Oh, okay. There we go. I'll be honest. When she turned around and said, oh, the Doctor's promised me a trip to the stars, I was like, don't believe it. You don't seem like his type. Do you know what I mean? She just seemed a bit too matter-of-factish and just seemed a bit boring. So...
Well, she only had about 3 lines of dialogue. I'm not sure how much character that could be crowbarred into those spaces between.
I'm sure the Target novelization will have an entire chapter about her and the Doctor going off on little ram raids against the robots.
Ram raids?
I don't know.
What, down the robot bottle shop?
Whatever you do when you're like trying to revolt against big chunky robots. Yeah, so that perhaps it will feel more meaningful. I mean, that was one of my first thoughts, was like, if this was a 4-part story, we'd see all of this shit back in the old days. But obviously, it works as a timey-wimey adventure. But that thing, I'll be honest, the crying, I did go, oh, okay. And then when obviously it was revealed that, he'd been there for 6 months and he'd taken a shine to her, I was like, okay, well, that feels slightly more earned. But like you said, the fact that it just keeps happening all the bleeding time, and I know people will moan at us for moaning about crying and say, but men are allowed to cry. Well, yeah, they are, but bloody hell, all the time? Ugh.
Every 30 seconds. The story then kind of hits the brakes because they escape and they go underground, and we get about 10 minutes of sort of dialogue, which is really nice because we get a bit more fire out of Belinda and figure out what she's about. She figures out the Doctor's
help with the people and stuff.
Exactly.
I got really pissy with that ginger guy. What was his name? Manny. That's it. Mindy. Manny.
He was just upset. He was upset that his arms hadn't been greased up enough.
Yeah, we said he was like Pex.
Yes,
at least visually, anyway. Maybe not in character, but he had a real bloody chip on his shoulder, and I was just like, ugh.
Didn't he just?
Yeah, it's like, oh, get over it. Come on.
So there's that whole thing going on. We get a really nice 2 hearts scene, which when it happened, I was like, I don't know that what's her name from last year. I've forgotten her name already.
Ruby,
last year's companion, Ruby. Yeah. I don't know that Ruby necessarily got the same sort of kind of revelatory, oh, you're an alien moment.
Yeah.
Because that usually comes with either a 2 heart scene. Obviously, you have the TARDIS scene, but that's kind of an entity within itself. Or when they see the Doctor regenerate and they're like, oh, I didn't know you could do that kind of thing.
Do you know what they should have done? Rather than just him going, look at me. He should have got shot. He should have been shot by one of the robots and been injured. Maybe. She'd have been like, I'm a nurse, I can help you. She puts the blanket on him and goes, fuck me, that's cool. Fuck me, you've got 2 hearts. And and it could have happened a bit more organically. It did sort of feel that sequence. I mean, I did like the scene, but I do feel like that stuff in the Rebel base. It's starting to feel a bit like Star Wars now, the Rebel base.
Well, there was a fucking Jedi that turned up towards the end of it, which we'll come on to.
Yeah. Yes, there was, wasn't there? Yeah, that did feel like Star Wars. It was like, what? You've walked in from the wrong Disney show, mate.
Literally.
It was like you came out of the Acolyte.
Stood there. It was mad.
Yeah, and I did sort of feel like, the story just feels like it sort of stopped a bit, and then the next scene is like, this is the end. Do you know what I mean? I feel like it needed maybe just another little scene of just the robots stomping around or the AI generator saying, "Find my wife." Maybe it just needed that. A couple of seconds just to make it feel like, some time has moved on. You know, it hasn't just all happened in the space of a few minutes. But yeah. It was a nice scene with the two of them, and then all that stuff with the certificate, and the certificate had duplicated through the time fracture. One had stayed with the robots, the other one had been sent back in time and become the foundation of the system. Yeah, so that explained all that away. Yeah,
but so the diploma goes back 5,000 years.
Yeah.
Belinda's been away for 2 hours, but it's been 6 months for the doctor.
Yeah.
And Alan has been there
10 years.
For 10 years.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah. Because when they go back in time, when they go back to get him, they go through the time fracture and they go back 10 years prior, unbeknownst to them.
We get a Padam reference to immediately date this, which is lovely. So we know exactly what year this was made, not necessarily the year that it came out. I'm sure there's lots of people watching it going, what was that? What does it mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, we got all the Rebel base stuff. We get the first Mundy Flynn reference.
Oh yeah.
Because that's a thing.
Yeah.
I do wonder if that is one and done in this episode though, because of the fact that, you know, he's not keeping it back from her like he kept back the whole Ruby thing when he scanned her and put her details on the screen.
Yes.
You know, because he didn't tell her anything about that. But I do feel like I wouldn't be surprised if that's the only time Mundy is mentioned.
I hope so.
He's been face value. It's like, she's a descendant of yours. She looks identical to you. The DNA is the same. But does that mean that she's a descendant or not? I don't quite. Anyway.
Yeah, I wish they'd have just done the Gwen Cooper thing and just said, "Oh yeah, you're clearly just a descendant," and that was it. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Rather than be like, "Oh, but you're so similar. You're so similar." It's almost like you're played by the same person.
Bonkers.
Yeah.
So yeah, there we have the star certificate explanation about the atoms being in two places at once, and if they touch, then there's going to be something's going to happen.
Or as we like to say, Blinovich limitation effect.
Thank you very much. This is what you're here for, the technical know-how. Belle turns on polish to draw the robots in, so they can take her away. So a kind of sacrificial, selfless act again, sort of another tick in the Doctor's checklist of if she's going to be companion material.
Yep.
And then we meet the Al generator, and I did try to figure out whether or not it was purposeful framing to keep the L out of shot, or if the original shot actually didn't render the bottom of the L and they just added it afterwards as a swerve.
That's what I did as well the second time round.
Yeah, but I think there's like a lip, isn't there?
There's like a grating thing that yeah.
So they got away with that one. And Belle is taken to be married to Al, who's doing the same ninth word thing.
Yeah.
So it's revealed that it's Al Bud, the coercive controlling boyfriend who wants his own like video game land where he has complete control over everything. And his words are, there's a pain one. Which is like, help me, pain, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And then the other one is Belinda, mine, forever, me, with, is the other line. So
sort of works.
Sort of works.
Yeah. He's having a stronk.
I call a bondulance. I love the design of the upgraded owl. I thought it looks great.
Yeah, scary. I thought he looked really creepy. Yeah, I thought kids would be frightened
painful.
by that. Yeah.
I thought it looked. Does he have one giant robot hand on one side?
Yeah, that's his. Yeah.
Say it.
That's for his special time.
Well, there's not much to do when you're in that little housing unit. So
when you're an incel, as apparently this is what I mean.
Yeah, let's come on to that.
Let's get on to that. Yeah, let's come on to that. Nice turn of phrase. Yeah. I thought that was fucking ham-fisted. I thought that was like, this has not been set up at all. Do you know what I mean? I feel like if you're gonna do this, that he's like an incel and that he was a twat to her. The only thing he says at the beginning when he gives her the thing is the miss thing, which is like, all right, okay, that's a bit weird. And don't tear that paper. You could use that again. Okay, never mind. And I just thought, oh, well, that's just him being a weird. That's just a weird idiosyncrasy.
There is also him like mansplaining the distances of stars to her. So I think that it's more the kind of microaggression.
Is that really mad? I thought that was just for the audience's benefit.
Possibly. But I think watching it back in context, I was like, okay, it's not explicitly, you don't see him being physically coercive or swearing at her or doing anything like that.
But
I did get where they were coming from watching it the second time round. Like,
really, I think maybe the stuff like maybe you shouldn't wear stuff like that. Maybe that should have come at the beginning, so we already think, oh, he's a bit of a knob. Because then it just sort of felt like, okay, I guess you're okay. He's a bit of he's a controlling twat, but it would have been far more effective, I think, had we have seen it sooner. So at least it just felt like it was embedded in the story from the beginning rather than just like, oh yeah, and this. But then it really annoys me because then they add that element of the pain and all this shit. And I was like, so you're trying to sort of make us feel sympathy for him, but he's a fucking dickhead. And at the end he dies and the doctor's like, he's jizz on the floor. Oh, spit and polish. Here he comes. Polisher, he's wiped him up. Get the Kleenex. No, and then you're like, so am I supposed to feel sympathy for him or not? No?
I think that there's a pity element because he even says pity himself. But then at the same time, like you say, it's like when somebody is like, oh, pity me, feel sorry for me, you don't necessarily have that immediate urge to feel sorry for them. Yeah. Especially if they are coercive and controlling and that's part of their whole, shtick.
Yeah.
But I find I am beyond pain because he's a robot, and then saying he's in pain is like, oh, okay, sure.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I think, it was ham-fisted, but it was broad strokes, but I wouldn't have expected anything less. So it didn't sort of hit me in the face too much.
I mean,
the Planet of the Incels line was like, okay, we've got it.
Yeah.
Kind of, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But then at the same time, maybe 6, 7, 8-year-olds didn't get it, but then maybe they don't know what an incel is, and this is their introduction to that term.
Jonathan didn't know what an incel was, so we had to, because he's a boomer, we had to explain it to him.
And
he's not. But
that is the name of the target book when it comes out. I hope it Doctor Who and the Planet of the Incels. I really hope.
Yeah, so that just it was one of those things where I was like, it feels like you're trying. It feels like you feel like, oh, we have to say something in this story, and I was kind of like, you didn't need to say this. I don't think it didn't organically feel like you were trying to write a story about that sort of behavior. And I think, obviously they didn't know that this was going to happen, but I think one of the other issues is that this has just come out after a very incredible and successful drama about this type of culture has just come out on Netflix in adolescence, which is brilliant. And then that explores it so well and the severity of that so well, but then this comes out and sort of makes light of it in a very sort of flim-flammy way. Sort of feel
well,
like
it does a dot-to-dot version of adolescence, doesn't it? Because I mean, it is for a different audience.
oh yeah, for sure.
But
I think
I know what you mean, that in light of it, it still kind of comes across as, like an infantile way of addressing that kind of a topic.
yeah. And is it, especially when it is an issue, like, if the government is saying, schools should be showing this program, there's obviously a deep-rooted problem. I'm sure, in the writers, in the production meetings, it was like, oh, this would be a laugh. You have to take a piss out of, it's probably taking a piss out of Doctor Who fans, isn't it? Really,
it's a
pop at people like us. I mean, not that we're incels, but
don't let me in with that. I'm going to take a quick break here just to say thank you for the £5 super chat, Jake. Love that the weekly lives are back. I enjoyed the episode. Good to see you lads this evening. Thank you very much, Jake. Space MacGuffin with the £2. Bell plus Belal return confirmed. I think that was probably the intention, almost certainly, wasn't it, Space MacGuffin?
Yep.
And £20 from Macra. Thank you very much, and thank you for modding the chat. I've seen you at work. Thoroughly enjoyed the episode. Loved the scene when the certificate touched. Felt very 70s Doctor Who. Love the streams as usual. Glad the weekly streams are back. And Josh, with the £2 donation, he also says, "I know girls aren't good at maths." Yes.
Oh,
so there's,
okay. I missed that
bits
one.
of that.
Oh, interesting.
Through the start of it.
I actually wasn't listening in my post Tom Baker haze or my blurry-eyed morning haze.
I think that we'll blame that rather than you being an incel yourself.
There was there was also some earlier super chats that we missed. Also from Jake and Josh. Jake came in and said, "You'll end up like that cat if you wake up Stella, Billy."
I will, almost certainly. She doesn't like cats, so.
And then Josh said, "The massager, god of beasts." So there we go.
Let's crack on, because I've got to make a move in a bit. So we have the touching of the star certificates, and a scene as Mac, I think it was Macra that sort of pointed it out. That sequence was very the Third Doctor crossing between reality, parallel universes from Inferno, wasn't it?
Yeah, and also Planet of Evil, when the Doctor's floating through the void, all that sort of stuff. It was great. I really liked that, and seeing them both get older, and all that stuff. It was really cool. A very interesting way to visualize that. I love that.
Yeah,
it was great.
I guess you see it in the script, and you're like, God, how do you even begin to try and represent two atoms, colliding like that? And then I guess you just go, we'll just do something really trippy and really fucking crazy, which is ace.
And it worked.
The Doctor took the blast from the atoms mixing and went through Bell's life like a bullet, he says. The time fracture sent him like whoosh. And he finds out that he goes back years with her as a result of the contact. Now, does that mean the reference to Monday, which he clues her in on later?
Yeah.
Or does he enter her timeline as a result of the contact? Because there's a bit where he's holding a baby in the flashback.
I was a bit confused, because I thought initially it was like, oh my God, they're going to do something where he's like, he was there at her birth or something because of the baby. And then I was like, or does he mean the Monday thing? So I don't know. I think jury's out on that one. Possibly the latter. And maybe the baby was like the best way of visualizing it, rather than like have a baby floating through the void with like, psychedelic lights.
So the robots give the Doctor his TARDIS back.
She refers to it as a TARDIS, and he hasn't told her it's a TARDIS.
Interesting. So that's got to be something. I mean, that might even be by virtue of the contact they just had. If he has actually entered her time stream, and maybe they go back years before, maybe there's something going on there. Transference. I laughed out loud at Ncuti's high kick as well.
What, his Yas
That
Queen?
was hilarious. The robots give the Doctor his TARDIS back. obviously we said Belinda knows that it's called the TARDIS, which is quite odd. And we get the bigger on the inside bit, which was very nicely done.
Little bit before that, which I really liked, was when Pex, or whatever his bloody name was, when Pex is like, "Oh, we're gonna name this place Sasha 55," and the audience has gone, "Ooh, the Doctor's like, "Yeah, all right, lovely, let's go." He's completely just like, "Right, I've had enough of this, I'm done. Let's go on, let's get on with the next story," which I liked. I was like, that's a proper doctory thing to do. Be like, all right, none of this sentimental waffle, which is rich coming from him. But yeah, I like that. That was great.
Belinda pops back out of the TARDIS and turns to them and says, "If you think this is weird, just wait till you see what's in there," or something like that. And it's like, well, yeah, but they live there though, so they don't think it's weird. The Doctor does the whole thing with Mundy. She gets annoyed at him about taking her DNA and testing her DNA, which I thought was particularly good, given that she's a nurse. That was nicely worked, I thought.
Yep.
So she's principled, and she kind of gives it back to him, which is a breath of fresh air as a companion. He realizes he can't laugh it off as well, which I thought was quite a nice bit of performance from Ncuti, that he's sort of charming her with a nice big smile, but then also does sincerely apologize to her when he realizes that, oh no, she's taking this very seriously, which is fair enough. "I'm not one of your adventures," great line. And the Doctor tries to take her home, but they keep bouncing off of May the 24th, which is the date of the penultimate episode airing. Not the same issue as earlier, as we were sort of wondering about with the time fracture, because the Doctor says he's closed it. So it's something else that's stopping them from going back. The TARDIS materializes in space. The Doctor's like, we can't get past this point. They dematerialize, and then we get all the floating wreckage assets from the teaser trailers flying into frame. There's the Eiffel Tower, the Statue of Liberty, a London taxi cab, one of the pyramids, a Bell Star certificate, and a calendar showing May the 24th. And
that bit I thought did look janky. That bit they're in the TARDIS, when they're looking out into space from the TARDIS, I was like, oh, that looks very much like it's just the door frame. It didn't feel like there was a floor or any walls to the police box.
Interesting. I know what you mean. Yeah,
do you know what I mean? It just sort of felt, especially when it was at a low angle, I was like, should we not be like seeing the base like underneath? I enjoyed that, and I thought I don't know if you noticed that every time the TARDIS did the bounce thing, it did that like noise. So that was kind of like the Sutek in the TARDIS sound. And I was like, God, no, not again, please. But you know what? Overall, it was all right. I enjoyed it. I watched it 2 times, and I didn't come out of it the second time thinking that it was any worse. So it was all right.
It's an improvement on last season.
I mean, God Almighty, anything's better than fucking Space Babies. Bloody hell. And this actually was better than Space Babies. So well done.
Well done, everybody.
Mr. Scarlo just said, "I'm surprised that those landmarks were actually in the episode." So was I, because I was like, "Hang on, isn't this just like teaser trailer generated fodder?" But clearly not.
I love that comment from young Codger. All famous landmarks, all probably actually from the Las Vegas recreations. So maybe Las Vegas just took a really big hit.
Yeah, maybe.
And that's everything floating away. Let's have a look at some of the comments that people left us on Instagram. Jack Bennett, 49. "It was a solid opener. It had a fun and creative plot concept, and I thought its twist was great and provided another layer to the story. It didn't particularly do anything new or mind-blowing, but it didn't need to. It served its purpose in introducing Belinda, who's amazing, and kicking off the season." Matthew 99 cosplay. "Major improvement on the meconium of death that was Space Babies. Love Belinda and thought the whole episode was a fun ride." The Northern Dalek. "It gives us some actual drama that the show has needed for some time. Right off the bat, the mystery and play with the time fracture is far more interesting than what we got with Ruby. Loved the aesthetic of the episode, 50s futuristic look, the AI generator were beautifully done. The dynamic between the Doctor and Belinda is what I've kind of been wanting from a Doctor companion duo, where there's actual friction between the pair. It's a solid opening story and not some paper-thin mess that was Space Babies. Actually felt like proper Doctor Who." Moonman Unit 42. fantastic season opener, tons of fun and flair. I felt there could have been a bit more robot action in the third act, which you mentioned. But I really enjoyed the Robot Revolution, a great and promising start to the season. And then last comment from Dalek Cloudman. I love the way she rolled her eyes at the timey-wimey comment from the Doctor. Yes, Belinda, only 6-year-olds still use that phrase. Solid opener. I'm going to love Belinda. I think the Doctor cried again, so he was predictable as fuck. Loved it as a campy romp. And like we said at the start, it's precisely what we expected from it.
Yeah.
And, you know, that was what it was there to do. It was there to kick the season off in a fun, light and frothy way. And next week we've got the episode I think I'm probably most excited for.
Yeah.
Out of all of them, besides the maybe not regeneration at the end of the season.
We've also had a super chat from Young Codger, who says,
"Oh, hello, Young Codger.
I thought it fun, but also felt more like Sarah Jane Adventures than Doctor Who. Thinking about it, so
interesting. I guess that comes with the territory of it being a slightly lighter throwaway or knockabout episode, that it's going to be, you know, a bit more light and frothy in that way. But yeah, I was very, very fond of it. I think particularly in light of the fact that, you know, we might be staring down the barrel of quite a long gap between seasons of Doctor Who.
Yeah.
By the end of it, you know, it was that kind of, you know, if it is the end for a little while, although Doctor Who has had a need to evolve and change with like streaming programs of its kind or within that sort of genre space, and it hasn't. There isn't really an awful lot on telly that is this sort of knockabout and Technicolor and daft and camp, you know?
No.
And so,
yeah,
you know, it's interesting to think that this might be the last sort of flourish of a show like that for a while, let alone the last season of Doctor Who for a little bit.
Yeah, it's funny. You know, I was thinking that when I was watching it this morning. I was like, it does sort of feel like it's got one foot in the past, whereas like the production value is very much in the present. Tonally, you know, and the style of it does feel very much how it used to be. For, you know, whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, I'll leave that up to the audience to decide. But yeah, I thought it was. I mean, you know, the thing is, we've just come off the back of Joy to the World, which neither of us really liked. We've had the Sutek 2-parter, which, you know, neither of us liked. So it did feel a bit refreshing to actually watch it and go, you know, I liked that.
I like that.
Yeah, rather than gobshite. It was all right. I'd give it a 6 out of 10.
I'd give it a 6 out of 10. It's a solid 6 out of 10. Production design, fantastic. Ncuti, you know, had a bit more to do. I loved the every ninth word scene. I thought that was really, really cool. Stylistically, I think Peter Hoare's a great director. It'd be great to have him come back and do some more Doctor Who, because there was some really, really nice little directorial flourishes in there.
Yeah.
Murray's music as well. I thought there was some really nice bits.
There was some cool stuff there. Yeah.
One thing we haven't mentioned is we have another mystery box as part of the whole May the 24th and with Mrs. Flood. We've got who told the Doctor about Belinda.
Missy on the phone.
Missy. I mean, it's exactly the same thing, isn't it? It's exactly the same.
It's the same thing. She said 2 things to Clara, and that was the other one. And we've only Doctor's found it on a post-it note. I'm like, oh shit. Better probably check in on that.
Tell him in like 11 years' time.
Yeah.
Yeah. don't mention anything straight away.
Yeah. Don't make it too samey.
Nice to see lots of people sort of similarly positive about the story. Yeah. Which is good to see.
Yeah.
And then next week we've got Lux.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to Lux. I'm a bit worried that it might end up being a bit of a Devil's Cord, and I mean, I liked Devil's Cord, but obviously it did have its like, it feels more like a concept rather than like an actual story. So I worry that it's going to be, this is the one where the cartoon comes to life, and that's sort of it, and there's not really much meat on the bone. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought it was okay, and I'm looking forward to seeing where it goes.
Young Codger has also just reminded us there is also the Meeps boss from the Star Beast to figure out too.
Oh yes, there's also that. Yeah. Yeah. Where do you think this ranks in like the Russell T Davies season openers? So obviously we've got Rose, we've got New Earth, we've got Smith and Jones, we've got Partners in Crime, we've got the Star Beast, we've got Space Babies, and then we've got this.
I would put it. I think I'd go Rose obviously at the top.
Yeah.
And then maybe Smith and Jones. Then to be honest, this would probably tie with the Star Beast for me. I'd say it's.
See, I would put Star Beast over this. I think Star Beast really came in with like, boom! Look at what you've been missing.
True.
Which is why it's so annoying that now it sort of feels like, oh, be more like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Maybe it helped. Yeah. I mean, I think it's the 45-minute format again.
Yeah.
I think that is still trouble because at least Star Beast had time to breathe, and we would have got more robot stuff if it was slightly longer, and maybe some of the other elements might have been fleshed out a little bit. I think it's the 45-minute thing that especially for a season opener where you've got to establish the new co-star and you've got to bookend it. You've got to start with an introduction to that character. You've got to end it with them doing all of the inside outside, going off into space stuff, and then you've got to have a beginning, middle, and end story in the middle of all of that, and hit all the beats of the characters getting to know each other enough that it makes sense they would fly off into the universe with a complete stranger. I think that they struggle for time when they're 45 minutes to try and get all of that in.
It does seem baffling that they're sticking with this 45 minutes in this day and age. Do you know what I mean? It just feels like, well, you don't have to do that, especially if predominantly it's like a streaming thing. Obviously Disney it doesn't need to be 45 minutes for Disney. Obviously
I guess that's the thing, but as programs start to go more streaming first, which I think is Doctor Who's prerogative these days, whenever I've seen promos and graphics for it that have come out of the BBC, it's been BBC iPlayer and Disney Plus. Like the BBC One logo is sort of nowhere near the promo stuff that I've been seeing. So I guess it is streaming first, but then you have got not like a weight round its neck that it has to adhere to broadcast standard lengths, but also if they decided to make it an hour rather than 45 minutes, I'm sure the BBC wouldn't have a problem with that. They'd make it work.
Yeah, it's weird. It feels very strange. And especially like, in the past they've done hour-long specials and things, or,
Yeah.
And I think Chibnall's, Chibnall's stories weren't 45 minutes, were they? They were 50
they
minutes.
Were like 50, 55, something like that. Yeah.
So I think, that 5 minutes could go a long way.
Absolutely, considering how frenetic it is anyway.
Yeah, exactly. High Voltage has jumped in and said, with a super chat, and says, it was good, but Russell feels tired writing Doctor Who. Like he said everything he needed to say. Well, we'll see. We'll see if this season brings out any more interesting things out of the man.
We will.
Yeah, so there we go. I think that's all we have to say on the Robot Revolution. Can remember what the episode was called. That's good, isn't it? We're professional. So we shall see you all, guessing same time next week, Billy?
Yes, same time next week, maybe earlier. We'll see how we can make things work.
Yeah, but you will find out all the information about when we are next live streaming for Lux on the socials. So keep an eye out on all of the usual places. Don't forget, we also have Patreon, where we produce lots of extra fun things, commentaries, Q&As, and tier lists, and all sorts of mad bonkers rubbish. So we will see you there as well. And from me, it's time for me to go and have a polish and stick a snake up my bum. Goodbye.
Could not have